back to Corporate Nitro.
Corporate Nitro.
Now listen here, Nitro Gang. We are going on a nighttime vintage road trip. We saw a great deal on Facebook Marketplace. Free nitros. Let's go and see if we can get the free nitros. Free is the best price. If you've been watching the channel, if you know anything about Corporate Nitro, what's better than cheap RC? A free RC. We got some HSP. We got some Carson Rockwilder. Never heard of it, but there's an Offner chick on the box, so it must be good. And there's a box of servos or some crap. Okay, final box. What's in the mystery box? We've got a Pepsi backpack, which, ooh, we've got nitro goodies in here. Oh wow, there's another car in here. Oh, these are great. I can't wait to clean these up and give them a go. Always wanted to use a stick transmitter. Always. Never had one. We've got some servo horns. We've got a fuel transfer bottle. But what is this? What is this little car? I didn't know there was 3 cars. I only thought I was picking up 2 cars. What is this? Oh my gosh. Is that a Honda Integra? No, it's a Subaru. What kind of Subaru is this? Wow, that is low. Yeah, that's a Subaru Impreza 2-door. That's a 22B. Oh my gosh, if only this was blue. This is rare. This is a Subaru Impreza WRX STI 22B 2-door coupe. How can I tell? Because 2 doors, bonnet scoop, Subaru badge on the front. Oh my gosh. We will have some fun fixing this one. We're going to have to get the dent removal kit. We're going to have to fill it up with water and stick this one in the freezer. Rusty body clips. Let's get these off. Let's see what this is. Wow, there's some dirt on this one. It's so busted that the body posts have gone through the shell. Okay, wow, that is a dirty body. Okay, what do we have here? What is this vintage nitro dirty goodness? And where are the spiders and the cockroaches? Where did he leave this? In the attic? In the garage? Okay, what do we recognize here? Well, it's a 110 scale single speed touring car. Touring or rally car. It's even got some rally block tires there. They're not slicks. Okay, now it's got a fuel tank with a primer. That is very HSP-esque to have a feature like that. Very hang long. Used to do things like that. Okay, so we've got a side exhaust. We've got a Force. Now this is probably going to be a Force 15. We can see the Force logo. We've got a rusty glow plug, rusty head screws. You know what? This might be rusty, but these things normally still work. Single speed, single fiber brake. It's still rolling. We've got some serious toe-in and some serious camber here. Wow, that's a lot of camber. That's why the inside of that tyre is completely worn on both sides. Too much camber and too much toe-in. We've got a little bit of nitro fuel in there from the 1990s or whenever this was last run. Thanks for leaving the batteries in there. That doesn't help me at all. Gonna have to throw away another battery case. Okay, a bit of grass, a bit of spiders. Now the drive line looks good. I can't see too much wear. Let's flip it over and have a look underneath. Okay, so we've got Phillips hardware again, But what's interesting is that it's only had one little knock on the front, so hardly any damage there. And this has hardly got a scratch on it. This hasn't been used too much at all. Unless it was just used somewhere very, very safe, like a netball court. But you know what? I don't think so. Yeah, we're going to have some fun bringing this one back. There's going to have to be a miracle resurrection happening here. Okay, so that's a little bit, you can see where it has had a good knock on the front, because this side's so high and this side is so low. It's had a good knock, hasn't it? Oh yeah, look at that. It's had one big impact. I wonder if we can bend that back with some heat, because the hardware looks okay. And if we look at the steel shafts, the pins in the dog bones there, they're looking brand new. The outdrives look brand new. It's even meshing really, really nice. What's going on here? Is that a biohazard? Do we have to call hazmat to come and clean up this? Why would there be so much mold growing on there? What kind of oil did they put in here? Did they put cooking oil? Is it peanut oil? That's a serious amount of fungus. Might have to put the gloves on to continue this inspection. Vintage Futaba goodness. Oh man, what a rat's nest. Alright, the Protech FUN Nitro FUN .12 four-wheel drive. What a mess. But I've come to the conclusion that you don't need to do a full strip to have fun with a nitro and get it restored. You just have to do the absolute minimum. So why don't we start doing the minimum instead of doing full strip. So to me, the minimum would be remove wheels and tyres, check the suspension, remove the fuel tank, do a full clean, remove the engine, do a complete disassemble of the engine, do an inspection, replace the air filter, check the integrity of, well, that looks like a center diff, front diff, rear diff, pull start needs attention, it's got some kind of fungus on it. Clutch pearl looks like it's too close to the spur gear, almost rubbing. Engine needs to go back a little bit if it can, if not, then it should be fine. Too much camber, tyres are getting worn out. Way too much camber, tyres are getting worn out. Too much camber, that one looks okay. A little bit of rear toe. Too much toe on the front. That's quite stiff. That's got nothing at all. Definitely going to have to look at these shocks. Clean down all this crud on the chassis. A lot of dirt there. Check these servos. Rotary carbs probably stuck. We know the AM Futaba T2ER, we know that the transmitter is working, so I'm assuming that the receiver is still working, but we don't know about the condition of these servos. So probably the worst part is going to be the engine. Everything else should be fine. The spur gear looks pretty good. Looks like it hasn't had much use. Looks like it's just had one big impact on the front. Judging by the screws, they've never been removed. We do have some damage to the screws. They look like they're going to be quite hard to get out. And that's going to make removing the engine very, very hard. But we can always cut them off if we need to. Don't want to cut them off because then it's going to be hard to remove them. What can we do to save this car? Do we need to remove the engine? Can we remove the rear transmission and gearbox to get to the back of the engine, to get to the back plate? Then we don't have to remove the engine because those screws are stuffed. So if we're not removing the engine and we're not removing all this radio tray and top brace, that means we can't remove the clutch and the flywheel that means we can't remove the crankshaft, which means we can't do a proper inspection of the bearings. So probably the only thing we're going to be able to do is inspect the head from the top, and if we remove the rear gearbox and the rear of the car, then we can remove the pull start and the back plate and do an internal inspection just from the back without removing the engine. But if all goes well, we can clean up these screws and get them off. That would be my absolute preference. And I like how this exhaust deflector pushes exhaust and oil straight down. Whoa. Is that a plastic flywheel? I've never seen a plastic flywheel before. Alright, no good. We are stripping these screws. Let's get the candle and try and do it with a bit of heat. Oh yeah. Once we put a bit of heat, straight out. Alright, so we need to loosen these head screws, but the 2mm has got a lot of play, and if we go to the 2.5mm, that doesn't fit at all. So I think we've got a bit of a dilemma here. Why don't we just remove the glow plug and do a little inspection? Now, do you think this glow plug is going to work? Of course it's going to work. This car's hardly been used. It's just been used once and then crashed. What's that say? R3? Oh yeah, we got a fire. How is our piston looking? It looks terrible. Just try and get it down the middle. Oh yeah, good shot. Put your butter knife behind it so that you don't lose everything. Just make sure it's all coming off as one piece. One-way bearing seems to be a bit stuck. Do we put the hairdryer on here now to try and get these screws off and get the one-way bearing off? I think we're going to have to. Okay, that's better. Our one-way bearing off. Oh, it's moving now. Okay. Alright, so to service the one-way bearing, what I do is I get a little bit of methylated spirits, spray that in there, get all the crap out, and then I use clean engine oil. Let's see if we can remove the back plate. Just give it a little bit of a tap, bit of a taparoo, just to remind it Corporate Nitro is here, knocking on its door, begging for a smooth recovery. Come on, wakey wakey. It's Corporate Nitro. Gonna make you great again. Okay. We've got the back plate off. We got a lot of rust there. That's okay, we'll polish him up. Polish up the starter shaft. Inspect the O-ring. Not much of an O-ring. We've just removed the back plate for the first time on this seized vintage Force 15. It's a Protech Nitro FUN 12 four-wheel drive rally car. Let's see what it looks like inside. Dry and rusty, just the way we like it. The reason why I'm using after run oil here and not WD-40 is that if WD-40 gets into my carb, it'll make all the O-rings swell. But if I use after run oil, I can use as much after run oil as I want, and that just means it'll be a bit hard to start and a bit more smoke, but once I get rid of all the after run oil, things will be good again. Give it a bit of a turn and see what's going on. Oh, that's tight. That is tight. Just relieve some of that compression. You know what? This might be a new engine. Might just have a lot of pinch. Now I said this was a plastic flywheel. Why did I say that? Because it looks plastic? Can't be. Can't be plastic. Gotta be aluminium. No oils coming out the top. Very rough. Very rough. You know what this is? This is the oil has, I don't know what the word is, congealed? It's gone hard. And the bearings just don't want to know about it. But if we heat this up, that oil should just melt. That's nice and easy. What a difference. With a hot engine, I can turn it. Corporate Nitro, we're open for business. How do you think it's going to look inside? Is it going to look good? Let's have a look, let's have a look. Whoa! Has this been running richer than the pyramids in Dubai? Oh my gosh, look how black that is. Maybe what we'll do is we'll see if we can get the exhaust off. Get the engine off. Hallelujah. We have got the engine off. So if you've got a stripped screw, like I do here, the screw is stripped. If I turn it, the screwdriver just starts spinning. What you do is, you hold the screw in position and you turn your motor mount, provided you've got at least one of the screws out. And it normally works. Then once you've got a bit of movement, then you can normally put some pressure on the original screw. So do you want to see some smart tech? No pins through the axles. The hubs are a pinless design. You see that? They just use a square shape and a square axle, and then you don't need a pin. How cool is that? Why doesn't everyone do that? Do you want to see some more smart tech? Alright, let me show you something really smart. Let's look at the shock absorbers for a second and tell me, what do you notice about the shock absorbers? That's right, they're not adjustable in the traditional sense. They're not threaded, okay? They are stepped just like a motorcycle shock. They're stepped for preload. So you just rotate until you find the next spring-loaded adjustment position, and then that's how you set your preload. And pretty much all my motorbikes have had this on the rear shock. That's some smart technology right there. Not have to worry about fine-tuning the threaded collars and making sure they're both even. You just put them on the same notch on each side, job done. We've got a very dirty pipe, muffler, tuned exhaust, whatever you want to call it, silencer. So let's get the metal polish out and some stiff steel wool, and we'll give this one a nice little clean now. Okay, I think that's probably the best we're going to get it. Job done. A little force engine. Going to give this a bit of a clean without taking it all apart. Just trying to make up my mind if this air filter cake has fallen into the case. Will I have to do a complete strip, or are we okay? Still haven't made up my mind yet. Alright, so we've got a little bit of a tear on the stinger of the muffler. This exhaust deflector has got a bit of a tear in it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get a bit of black silicone. Oh, look at that. Beautiful black silicone. So the Protech Nitro FUN has got a really bent front bumper. It's really warped. So we might just take it off, heat it up, see if we can bend it back a little bit, make it look a bit better. Alright, let me show you something interesting. So the car runs like this, right? And we've got all the wires going on top here. Now if you turn it over, what you'll see is that the throttle servo, throttle and brake, runs underneath the drive shaft connecting the center differential to the front transmission box. Okay, so it's in a perfect position to rub on the servo wire. Okay, so this wire here should actually go up through the hole and across to the radio box. Alright, there's no need for it to go and rub here. Just testing the pull start, and oh yeah, that's going to add a couple of hours to the project, or $7. Now the carb is completely frozen, it's stuck, so we're going to heat it up and see if we can move it. I'm just going to rock it back and forward, see if we can move it. Alright, we'll let that cool down, take it all apart. Well actually, now that it's warm, I might take it apart now. Alright, what we might do, we might drill a 5mm hole through this piece of aluminium and then clamp the aluminium on here, pretend that's the throttle arm, and then we've got a bit more lever action, we can just rotate it, see if that works. It moved. We got it. Now, what do I do? Throw a bit of oil in there. While it's hot, throw a bit of oil and rotate it a bit. I think we got it. So I used a homemade throttle arm to get more leverage. We got it. Yes, Nitro Gang always wins. Now, this is interesting. The whole thing wants to come out. Oh yeah, with a spring. Look at that. Stuck, a lot of heat. To me, a screwdriver, the correct width, 5mm, we always win. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at all the shit on there. All these bloody shit O-rings and plastic. Yeah, it's O-rings. Failed O-rings. Bit of mucking around and we put the spring back into the case. Once we got the spring in, we wrapped up the cord. Alright, let's see if this engine even starts. So what we'll do is, we'll just put a little bit of fuel down the carb neck. This engine is tight. Okay, this engine is healthy. That's all we wanted to know. Just wanted to know if it's healthy. Okay, still very dirty, so we'll bring it to the kitchen. That way we can use hot water and give it a good clean, good shake, and some hot water. Do it a few times with the soap. Always leave your tank in the sun for a few hours with the lid cracked. That way all the moisture can come straight up out vertically, and outside on a windy day is even better. Alright, so we ordered the O-ring for the carb. While we're waiting for that to arrive, we can start putting this chassis back together and sort out the servo and radio wires. Managed to fix the pull start. I did order one for $7 as a good to have a spare backup in case this one gives me issues, but that's not going to blow the budget either way. Can't really remember where any of these screws go, but let's see how we go. I've already downloaded the manual. Should be alright. Alright, two things I can tell straight away. One, this on-off switch that's frayed here is actually not even working. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so we're going to have to cut that switch out. And the other thing is, the steering is really slow. So let's unhook this servo horn and see if we've got binding or if this servo has had it. Alright, so we've got a better battery, and disconnect the servo horn for the steering. Super fast now. Okay, and then just check this one. That's the problem, we've got binding. This doesn't want to move. Alright, so maybe we'll just put a few drops of oil down in these steering posts and see if that frees it up a bit. But it still hasn't freed up to my liking, so what we'll do is we'll start disconnecting these linkages one by one until we find out which one is causing the binding. Alright, so now that we've disconnected both linkages of the steering, what we can see is it's really free. Okay, so if there's any binding now, it's only going to be on this ball here, which actually is pretty stiff. This ball here on this side, which is pretty stiff as well. And actually, these front knuckles, they're really stiff as well, both of them. So we start adding up all this stiffness. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why it's getting really stiff. Let's put a drop of oil on every joint and make it free again. Much better. Just reroute the wires so they don't get frayed by the drivetrain. Now this servo horn didn't look right, and the linkage is on top and it's very close to the chassis. So I checked the manual, it's supposed to be underneath. So let's fix that. So this servo horn is it's hitting a few things. So I tried the outermost hole, it was in the second one. Now I've tried the third hole. I think that's going to be the best. What I might do is I might cut this servo horn so it doesn't smash into the post there, and then we can fix up the endpoints. Need to make a gasket between the engine exhaust and the baffle here. So what can we do? What I'm thinking is we'll get some texture and then we'll put it on there, and then we'll press some cardboard on top. Okay, that should give the outline. We'll just cut it out and then that'll be our gasket. Did it work? Yeah, it worked. My little O-ring has arrived. I needed one, so I ordered 300. Alright, so let's see if the little O-ring fits onto the mid-speed shaft. Oh, looks good. Looks really good. Yeah, that's fine. Now, the body is quite smashed, and all I'm thinking is we'll get a bit of a plastic chicken tray and cut some strips up, hot glue them down the bottom here to keep this section together, and then maybe up here we'll just have to put a bit of clear tape from the inside, just hold it all together. I don't know what else we can do there. Alright, so we cut up a little bit of plastic, and that's just going to fit in the corner there, just to hold it all together, and then I'll hot glue it in now. Now that the glue is dried and it's come out really good, what we've got to do next is take care of these window, because we've got smashes of the body posts have smashed through the glass. So we've got to make a nice little trapezoid here, 12 by 4 by 10, something like that, and we'll use the same chicken drumstick leg container and hot glue it in. Alright, so the body repair is probably the best that we're going to be able to do with that huge smash. We've got to put some holes in the back here, so we'll get the Sharpie out. Alright, so the fuel tank was sitting all uneven because it's probably the wrong fuel tank. So the plan was to raise the height a little bit to fix it all up. So made this little flexible adapter plate that's going to secure to the bottom of the fuel tank, and then one screw will go through here, keep it all in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to angle up the fuel tank like this, angle it up. Okay, so we've got a bit of a flexi piece on the top, and then we're going to drill a hole into through there. Just realized the stupidest thing on this car is the fact that they put a baffle right here next to the low speed needle adjustment. How the hell are you supposed to tune this thing if you can't get to the screw here? Fuel tank is sorted. We've got the two green pieces of flexible material, and that's put the fuel tank on a bit of an angle, leaning forward, but that's okay because the fuel tank already had a built-in slope in it, putting all the fuel back to the bottom. That'll do me. We're level, we're secure, it's strong, it's got a bit of flex, it'll be great. Well, I didn't really have the correct foam for this filter, but I had some little skinny pieces of foam left over that come inside the middle of the 8 scale foam filters. So I stuck 3 in here, and I've wrapped it with some masking tape just to keep it all together, stop them falling out. And I think if we put the little connecting tube on there and then pop it on top, I think that'll do the job. There you go, air filter when you don't have an air filter. Alright, now check this out. We're setting up the throttle linkage. You can see the throttle linkage connected to the throttle arm, and I've made some adjustments here. Okay, so when we pull the trigger, we're getting throttle action, right? And the carb opens up. Well, it's binding at the moment, it's fighting itself. But what's interesting here, behind this fuel tube, that's gonna fall off, is that the linkage is hitting the head. So when we brake, see that? It's just touching, and sometimes it binds and it gets stuck with the throttle open. This is a disaster. This is a runaway waiting to happen. We're going to have to address this somehow. Alright, I believe I have addressed all linkage issues. What we needed to do was bring the throttle arm up more vertical, because remember, even when you brake, the throttle arm doesn't move. Only when you accelerate does the throttle arm move. The brakes happen independently of the throttle arm going in any other direction than open the carb. So let's do that. Let's open the carb, have a look right inside there. Open the carb. Beautiful. We're getting full carb opening by setting the endpoints on the transmitter. So forward 119 out of 120. That means maximum throttle is being used, maximum servo throw to get the throttle to open. And that's probably because we're using the outermost hole on the throttle arm, not the inner hole. Forward, brake. Time for the first fire up. Let's throw some old fuel in here in an old car and see what happens. The compression is not amazing, but it's actually pretty good. Preheat is complete. Let's try and fire it up. Let's give it a prime. Well, the pull start cord won't retract. Let's take the engine off and have a look at this starter unit. Right, well, the pull start cord has pulled out again, and I haven't got all day to muck around with these pullouts. So just by chance, I ordered a pull start, I think for this car. All right, new pull start is on. Let's give this one a go. Whoa. Is that some good compression or what? All right, we really need to richen it or lower the idle. Holy shit. The flywheel just came off. We've worked out what's happened. The pilot shaft has unscrewed itself from the standard shaft. So unscrewed is okay. We can put a bit of red Loctite on there or something and do it up again. As long as it's not broken, that's the main thing. We've got a problem, and by the way, I love problems. All we need to do is screw the clutch nut pilot shaft back on to the threaded shaft over here, right? But we can't screw it on because there's a clutch bell with bearings on there. So if we turn this, it's all just going to spin, right? So we'll never do it up. So we need to undo this guy, the Phillips head. But I put my screwdriver in there and I can feel it starting to strip. When I push the pilot shaft through, I can see little bits of bearing. And the race are all falling apart. These bearings have had it. So I need to heat this up, take this screw out, the Phillips head screw, and throw it in the bin. Take the bearings out, throw them in the bin. Put 2 new bearings in. Put some blue Loctite on the pilot nut. Just heating up that screw so that we get it out without stripping it. We've removed the Phillips head screw and washer. We've removed the clutch bell, which is in really good condition. And what I thought was a failed bearing, it's not. It's actually a roller bearing. We got the red Loctite on the standard shaft, and we got the red Loctite on this machine screw as well. All got it back together, and this is what I call shimmed to perfection. Look at that. Just a tiny little bit of lateral movement, and still freewheeling. Hey, got it going. Alright, now that we've got a nice bass tune on the car, it can idle, it can rev out. Look how much lean we had to turn in the high-speed needle. It's buried in there. But funnily enough, it's still got plenty of turns to go, probably another 3 full turns if I wanted to. Okay, so we've got an issue whereby the clutch pearl is just starting to touch the spur gear. We don't want to strip that, and the reason that happened is all the vibrations during this test tune has caused these screws to back out from under the chassis. We can see them all coming down now. So let's put some Loctite on them, clean the oil off, put some Loctite, get the mesh set, and then we can give this car its first run. Brakes are good, idle is good. Corporate Nitro.